to another episode, season 3 of Witch Hat Chats. We are doing the special Lammas edition, and it's sponsored by Evermoving We Rise and Moonlight Potions and Charms. I am your amazing goddess host, Miss Nikki, and we have our fabulous techno wizard, and he's also a chaos magician, and he also does a lot of other things in his wicked little ways, and that is Mr. Saul Ravencraft. How are you doing, Saul?
I am fantastic, Nikki. How are you doing? I think we needed the entire week to recover from last weekend.
Actually, I think we need 2 weeks.
Yeah, here we are, with all of our peoples here on Witch Hat Chats, here for you.
Yes, this is our tribe. And
well, for everybody who made it to Witches Fest USA, I hope you had a good time. For those of you that missed it, you missed it. There may be an opportunity to catch up on some of that stuff. I don't know how that's going to go. You may get a second chance, but it's never like it was the first time, where you get to interact and connect with people and all of that. And you said happy llamas. Here are some happy llamas.
Yes, and they're mooning us today.
Yeah, that's right. We love llamas here on Witch Hat Chats. They are so cute, so personable, right? They remind us of people we know. So it's good that we're celebrating llamas today, right?
It's lammas.
Yeah, that's not really what we mean. We're really talking more about this kind of thing. But
an old man with a large knife.
That's right. Don't mess with him. It's one of the harvest times, and one of the ways that I keep track of the wheel of the years, I align it very much to what I think of as agricultural time. I mean, that's really where a lot of it originated, was dealing with the harvest and the things you needed at the in agriculture and all of that. And what people don't realize is there isn't just one time that things are harvested. It's not like in October suddenly everything is collected and the rest of the year is waiting for that chance. There are different things that come that become ready at different times, and sometimes you get an early harvest where some things ripen a little earlier than you expected. There's always a range going on with certain kinds of crops where some mature quickly and then some mature a little later on, and so you got something going on all year. What happens in particular at this time of year is the grain harvest, which is what we were looking at here. These are sheaves of grain that are collected. Of course, now in modern agriculture on a big farm, there's just a big old combine that comes along and grabs all that stuff and puts it up. But this is the romantic image that we're dealing with, the old ideas of this. And so of course at Lammas, the grain has matured, it's ready to be taken. It's ground into flour. There's a lot of bread associated with this time of year, because you get to enjoy the fresh bread now. We really, with our modern system, don't have a clear idea of what it is like to have a seasonal existence. where certain things are only available during certain seasons. When I was a kid, I was kind of aware of some things not being as available throughout the year, but now the way that they grow things and harvest things, you pretty much have access to almost everything all year round, especially things like flour and all of that kind of thing. We don't have to wait for that grain season for that stuff to come about. But that's not the way it always was.
Nope, it wasn't. And we'll get more into that in just a little bit. So do you want to know what our divination is for today?
Oh, I always do.
Okay, so everybody knows I drink yogi, positive energy tea. And no, they don't pay me. They really need to pay me. Because I'm advertising the hell out of this damn tea, right? All right, so they each of their teas, or they have a line of teas, and each of their teas comes with this little tab, and we call those our divinations. So on today's divination, it says, when the mind is backed by will, miracles happen. Ooh. So what does the chaos magician's thoughts on that one?
I mean, that's right in line with one of the presentations I gave at Witches Fest, because I'm very much a believer that magic is vision, imagination acted through will, and that's where it all comes from. I mean, we like the herbs and the crystals and the wand and all that kind of thing, but ultimately, when you reach that highest level of things, you don't have to mess with any of that stuff. You just will things into being, and you get yourself in that vibration, and it happens. And so that, to me, is a fundamental description of what magic is. It's having that picture in your head, having that intention clearly formed, and then putting your will behind it and maintaining your will behind it, which is not as easy as it looks. But it is the fundamental concept. And if you don't have a clear vision of what it is that you want to manifest, you're gonna get something funky and vague and probably unrecognizable. If you don't put your will behind what you're doing and maintain that, nothing's going to happen, because no one's going to do that for you. You become the whim of other people's manifestations. They're metaphysical boy toy.
Yep. Metaphysical boy toy.
There you go.
That would be a good way of starting off one of our witches cabinets.
There you go. There you go. How to be a metaphysical boy toy.
Create. Yes. Boy or girl toy. Or girl. We got to throw the girl on there too, because we got to include everybody, so we got to include the girls. All right. So with me, I mean, Saul really truly did explain it. The mind is a great thing. Is one of the few organs in our bodies we still really truly do not understand. And the mind can actually help you when it comes to healing yourself. It helps you to start that self-healing. I know that there's been a lot of books that have been written on how can you start working on that, because there's been people who have been, they've had their back damage or their spine damage, were told they were never ever going to walk again, and through this, along with their own medical, doctors and practices and stuff, they did metaphysical energy healing. And eventually they were able to walk again. And I know they've written a few books about it. I just don't remember what the books are now. But I mean, the mind can do amazing things. The mind can tell you, give you limits because you place limits on yourself. Society has placed limits on you, and a lot of times when it comes to limitations, you allow that. You don't turn and fight against that. You just allow that. It's just like with this Roe versus Wade thing, and they just overturned it. It's like, even though the entire United States, about, I think it was, what was it, 87%, a really high percentage, was for it staying in place. The people that be just trying to went, nope. And so now there's a bunch of, and it should be a bunch of protests going on, a bunch of lawsuits going on, and so on and so forth to try to get this rectified and get this back into place. So when it comes to the mind, we either allow that limitation to be placed on us, or we find a way to remove it, get around it, or go through it. So I was always told, where there's a will, there's a way. No matter what, you may think it's like a dead end or choice. A lot of people say, well, you either got A or you got B. Well, there's always C. You may not see that right then and there, but there's always C. It's just like, is a cup half full or is it half empty? And I always sit there and think, well, why didn't you just fill it all the way up again? What's the problem with that? Or drink the whole thing. It doesn't really matter. Whatever, it's your viewpoint, it's your mindset. So a lot of this has got to do with the mindset, and I truly do believe that if you really have the will and you really have your mind focused on this, your magic can make this come to being, can make it come to life.
Well, imagination is so important. And the exercise of imagination. I think one of the things that is happening right now is there's a lot going on to limit imagination and to discourage imagination, and that's the key. It goes back to that Terry Pratchett quote that I like so much, when Death says, "You must believe in things that are not true, otherwise how can you bring them to be?" Mm-hmm. And we can't allow ourselves to be bound by what is shown to us and told that is all there is. It's simply not true. And our imaginations, our ability to go beyond what is in front of us, it makes all the difference in the world. And that I think is one of the big battles, is to get people to imagine and to play and I don't mean jumping into a video game and following something that's so programmed for you, right? Mm-hmm. Really getting into possibilities and impossibilities and what they might be like. It's at the core of things right now.
Yeah, that's the reason why you need to play with your little witch or your little wizard or whatever you call yourself. You go and play with them. Let them show you what it's like to not have any type of filters. And when I say filters, I mean the prejudices, the limitations society has already placed on us. So you remove all of those because the child doesn't have it. They haven't been impressed by that yet. So you talk to them, and you start playing with them and let your imagination run wild. I was talking about this in my workshops over the weekend, in all of them. You are the one who limits yourself. It's just like with coffin boxes. A lot of people think, oh, if it's a coffin box, I have to do a curse. No, I showed people how they can do money spell with them. I showed them how they can do a healing spell with them. I showed them how to do a shadow work spell with them. And all of those type of things. So you're just limited by your imagination. So Saul, what do you have going on?
Well, I am in the in-between times right now. Just finished the major festival, which was a lot of prep and a lot of post. I've got some of the little things that are consistent for me. Ravencraft's Vault of Horror, my monthly hosted horror movies, the readings I'm doing at Curia Arcanums. I'm still available for doing remote readings here in the same studio that I do things with you. Right now it's hot. And a lot of people are dealing with their own summer plans and that kind of thing. So there's I'm open to opportunities, and would love for you to connect with me and let's see what we can do for you. I've got a lot of things that I can do, but it's sometimes hard to pick things that if nobody's really looking for anything. So I guess you could call it a forced vacation at the moment. But you've always got stuff going on, more coming up. What's up with you?
Well, with Moonlight Potions and Charms, we just got back from Mystic South, and that was really interesting. We've got some new products that are going to be coming online, like our dragon runes that we have gotten in. And we've got some new type of incense as well. So we've gotten a lot of different types of things that are coming for people. And also we have our shadow work collection. Our shadow work collection. I'm wondering how many times I'm having to drink just to try and describe this collection. It includes an oil.
Yeah, that tequila's going to start getting to you after a little bit.
Right. Too bad it ain't tequila. That would be an interesting witch hat chat.
There we go. That's what we should do. Is we should have a witch hat chats focused on shadow work, and we'll actually liquor up for that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll end up doing some on-air shadow work.
But be careful with what we say. You may scare somebody again. So, so in the collection we have oils, we have candles, we have bats. So we've got those 3 different things that you can be able to choose from. And so much more, including, don't forget about our altars on the go that we have. They're absolutely wonderful. I mean, really, truly wonderful. They are. And it's one of those things that, people in the military can be able to use them, because I just went to a workshop talking about what things that the military can be able to help with them when you have a pagan religion now versus back in the day, way before the 90s. So you got that. You also have the altars are also great for people who are traveling. Like if you're going to guess what? If you're going to a ritual outside, you can't take that big altar with you, unfortunately. That would be nice to be able to just snap your fingers and your altar all goes into your little bag like Harry Potter and just walk out there, But this is kind of like that, but it's not like that. It's not quite as big. So you can be able to look up those altar on the goes because we got the original, we've got Papa Legba, which is our most popular one, and we also have Mama Marie as well as the ancestors. So we got all of that. Also with our readings and coachings as well. And we've got our Crossroads Academy, so don't forget to be able to check that out, especially when we're going to be starting classes with Evermoving We Rise, their first degree fire. And it's going to include so many different things for people so they can be able to get a major jump start. Either if they're beginners, they can get a major jump start in the world of the craft. If they're already been in the craft for several years, they can be jumped up several different levels just from these techniques. So, and we got one more thing, and that is our Evermoving We Rise. We have our Lammas and Dark Moon ritual on the 28th. So we are looking forward to doing all of that with you.
Well, let's kick things off with our craft. We're going to learn how to make a besom, or a broom.
Hello, my darlings, and welcome. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a decorative broom for your altar or your home. Let's do some magical crafting. The materials I used for my broom are a wooden dowel and wood stain, and some wheatgrass and snippers. I also used feathers, twine, metal pendants and charms, and hot glue and a glue gun. I started this project with a plain, unfinished dowel rod. It measures 12 inches long and a ½ inch in diameter. I used folk art home decor wood tint to stain the dowel rod to a darker brown color. You could leave it unfinished in the light pine color if you prefer, or even use a large stick that you find in nature instead of purchasing a dowel. I brushed the wood stain onto half the dowel and then removed the excess with a paper towel. Then repeated the process on the other half of the dowel until the broom handle was a warm golden color. I'm using wheatgrass for my broom, but you can use any kind of material you want to create yours. You can use any dried grasses or small twigs from nature. My broom is going on my altar and will be used ceremonially and decoratively. It is not meant to be a real broom, and this wheat would not be a good choice of materials for a broom that is used to sweep your floors. I used my snippers to cut approximately 20 pieces of dried wheatgrass into 6 to 8 inch long pieces. You can cut your grass any length you think looks good on your handle. Feel free to take this tutorial and change it up to suit your taste and aesthetic. One way to use your broom or besom is as a tool to cleanse and purify a space which will be used for ritual. You can use a small broom to sweep away negative energy on your altar or in your home. The broom does not have to touch the surface and may be used a few inches away from whatever surface or area you wish to purify. I hot glued the wheat around the handle all at the same height. Then I cut more wheat, a few inches shorter, to create a second level of broom bristles, and glued them at the same height as the other ones, so that the wheat stalks underneath would show. A small decorative broom can also be used to help close the circle at the end of rituals. Brooms are quite effective at dissipating residual energies raised during a ritual, and otherwise it's common to place it near the entrance of your home to guard against negative energy or unwanted energy. Stand it upright by your door or hang it over your hearth to keep away those who might do you harm. Or you can tuck it under your bed at night to keep bad dreams away while you sleep. Once all of my wheat was glued on, I started to play around with adding feathers. I chose chocolate brown, rust orange, and light brown or tan feathers to create a ruff around the wheat. Brooms are also used in witchcraft and folk traditions to sweep away evil forces and even illness by sweeping around the ill. If misfortune has come to a home, you may wish to ceremonially sweep it to immediately clear out negative energies you find there. To secure the wheat and feathers, and to cover up all the raw edges of the broom materials, I chose to hot glue twine around the broom, starting at the top of the grass and ending just below the ends of the feathers. Once I got going with the wrapping, I only added glue every once in a while. There's no need to glue every revolution of twine. Too much glue might cause a buildup and a lumpy broom. As a further decoration, I added 3 small spotted feathers and a bronze moon pendant, along with a pentagram pendant. Feel free to decorate your broom to personalize it with colorful ribbons, bells, or even carving into the handle if you like. When the broom is complete, you may wish to consecrate it as one of your magical tools.
And now we're going to have a word from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about llamas. We are all magical beings. As a solitary magical practitioner, you can grow and develop yourself independently. Yet, the solitary path can be difficult and lonely with setbacks and self-doubts. And as you find your way without affirmations, reinforcements, or a safe space to practice, what do you do when things bump back? At Evermoving We Rise, our name is our lifestyle. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We teach you to understand and use the magical tools at your fingertips, while being upheld and developing personal responsibility for your own spirituality. We have a safe space to practice and learn as you master your craft. When situations bump back, you will have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Start today. Visit us at our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
At Witch Hat Chats, we promote magical knowledge, arts, and music from all cultures. We invite you to join us as our guest to share your practice, especially if your traditions are lesser known. Email us at witchhatchats@gmail.com. Tune in every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our Facebook page. And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. Nikki and I are here talking about llamas. No, not llamas. We're talking about Lammas, which is, see, I try to be fancy and look what happens. Which is the harvest. and in particular the grain harvest time. And while most of us are not really agricultural right now, my agriculture is browsing the vegetable aisle at the grocery store, and that sort of thing. We have become very disconnected with a lot of that, and yet in our traditions, they're based on those ideas of agriculture and the moving of the season and what happens at different parts. So grain, how does that connect with you, Miss Nikki, when you think about bread and grain and what that represents in your personal experience, your personal path?
Well, I love bread, especially the fresh baked bread.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got pizza, not pizza, pretzel bread. Ooh. I'm talking about the nice ones that come out of like NEMs or,
Oh, yeah.
oh God, those things. Oh. And you have the dipping butter all over it, and you have the salt. Oh my God. Oh, now I want one.
And baking bread has such a powerful impact on people that there are some places that have devices that simulate that smell. That they have basically a kind of perfume that smells like baking bread, and then we'll put that out because it does entice people and makes them hungry. Bread, I think, is one of those things that not quite universally, but very effectively gets our attention. It's one of those very special aromas.
You know, for our Hecate rituals when I was in California, I had a friend of mine, his name was Robin. And Robin is an absolutely amazing guy. And what he would do is he would bring these absolutely fabulous loaves of bread and these different types of olive oil. And after the ritual, we will always have some tasting. And I would love that bread.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's like, ooh, I couldn't get enough of that bread. It was just so good, you know? It's so damn tasty. So I mean, like, for example, I will, in the grocery store, I usually go into the deli section and I'll get like a rosemary type of bread. Sure. And then I'll do some dipping on that, and that makes a good snack for me. It also makes a rather decent lunch if I don't really want to fix anything, you know. And then you got the grain; it goes into crackers as well. So I've been eating a lot of graham crackers with chocolate milk here lately.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, you can't have graham crackers without milk.
Well, there you go.
There's just no way. And no, I'm not a s'more person, okay? I don't like s'mores. I think they're disgusting. I like each individual thing, you know, separately, but I don't like it all pushed together. It's just, it doesn't taste good to me.
Fair enough. And one of the things that I think is important to think about from a spiritual perspective when we look at Lammas is how far away, how many steps occur to get us from here to that bread that we were talking about, right? The grain has to be grown.
Yeah.
It has to be harvested. It has to be ground into flour. It has to be mixed with all these other things and baked to become that bread. There's the finished product of the bread is almost unrecognizable from the grain that where it began. And I think that is something important to think about at this time when we're doing our spiritual contemplations and our devotions and that sort of thing, is exactly how different the finished product, the finished destination may be from where it begins. And that we have to look at ourselves that way. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who is very, very intent on having great success in what he does, to the point that he stresses himself out almost debilitatingly, right? That he can't function.
I don't think you know what that's like, do you, Saul?
Well, I do, but I got to see it cranked up to 11, and that a phrase that I will like to use is that I have difficulty seeing myself in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I see what I see, but I don't necessarily see what other people see. I don't necessarily see the progress that I have made. I don't necessarily see the impact that I am having. And those days can become pretty dark when you just feel like you're accomplishing nothing, and that you can't figure out how to change it, and yet the change is happening, the evolution is happening, and that you are going to transform and you are going to go through manipulations of your path and how you interact with it. You don't just become bread all of a sudden. And I think that right now that's important to think about, especially with what you were discussing with that need to bring about change and all of that sort of thing. You can't see the change with the direction we're pointed in.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
There isn't, you can't get there from here, right? So we got to change tracks. We gotta move off of that path. We've gotta see another possibility, and that always requires risk. It always requires getting out of your comfort zone. Preferably, it involves allies. You get people that see the possibilities and can help explain them to you a little bit. And this is the perfect time to consider that aspect of transformation.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the process of bread, it actually reminded me how delicate that process can be, because I remember growing up, and they don't teach this in school anymore these days, but the Salem witch trials, they were talking about some of the theories of why these people went absolutely wild, and why they saw these hallucinations and stuff like that. And they were talking about, there is a fungus that actually grows on wheat called EGOT, or I think it's how you pronounce it. And it's a hallucinogen, but it dies if you make sure that the bread is cooked at a certain temperature and fully cooked. But if the bread is not fully cooked, or if it's not cooked at that temperature, then it's going to stay inside the bread. And they thought maybe that was what had happened with the Salem witch trials. And to me, that's just one portion of the whole thing. I mean, we can do a whole episode on the Salem witch trial. But it was just reminding me all those steps, because they have to make sure that their bread doesn't have all these or their wheat doesn't have all these contaminants, things that's going to cause people to have problems and stuff like that. And so that's part of the filtering process that these things have to go through. So when you're thinking about the process, you also have to think about what has been taken away or reaped away in order for that process to move forward and to be able to continue. And it also makes you try to appreciate the gratitude, because I'll go ahead and tell you something. I'm grateful that I can go to a store that's near me and buy the bread versus me having to go out, you know, doing all the grain raising. Oh hell no. And then having to get that up and turn this and do all that damn process. Oh no. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I think if I had to be responsible for raising all my own food, I would end up eating crickets and grub worms. Because
I would go back to probably hunting.
well, I don't know how successful I would be. My skills seem to lie in some other areas that are suited to our modern age. But I don't know that I'd be a real good farmer. And I'm grateful for those people who are
Yeah,
good
I am
farmers
too. I am
that make
too.
that available.
And you know what they were saying on the news before I had left for Mystic South was that Ukraine has a large percentage. They supply a large percentage of the world's grain, and they are being because of Russia, they're having a lot of problems trying to get that grain out. So many people in third world countries are having even more problems getting that, that grain in to be able to make their food and stuff like that. And a lot of people are starving a lot more because of that. And this is all over the world. So it shows you how much grain has to do with us being connected. Because when people say, oh, we're not connected to everything, yes, we are. You just don't know how we're connected to everything. And
Right.
what was that? What was that old saying I heard a few years ago, that you're like 7 people from each other? Like
Well,
so.
there was a game that started called the 7 Degrees of Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon,
yeah,
and it showed that many people, because of their connection with a connection with a connection, could trace a path to Kevin Bacon.
right.
And the way it worked, someone who was in a movie with Kevin Bacon, well, that was 1 degree removed. And someone who was in another movie with the person who had been in the movie with Kevin Bacon, they were 2 degrees removed. And it gets weird because you get into things like someone who was a caterer who worked on the film with the person who had worked with the person who had worked with Kevin Bacon. Well, they're also in that loop. And someone who had delivered food to the caterer, right? So you've got a farmer somewhere who's connected to Kevin Bacon.
I think all the farmers are connected to Kevin Bacon one way or another.
And that you can really do that with anybody, that you can trace these pathways there. So yeah, we are much more connected than we appreciate if we dig into it and are honest about how we're influenced.
Yeah. So I mean, it shows about the wheel of the year. It shows the whole 9 yards. We can pick anything in Lammas. I mean, hell, let's choose. This happens to be a fire festival. Well, to me, all of the festivals are fire festivals, but
They all
they
tend to
declared
be,
this
yes.
one to be one of the fire festivals. Just like Beltane is a fire festival, Lammas is a fire festival. So and I'm like, you have fires at all of them. So don't try and tell me, well, this is a major fire festival. That's bullshit. But we all need to have heat in the winter times. to make sure that we are warm to be able to cook our food, properly. Because, like I said, if we start eating, raw bread dough, we may end up with that EGOT and start hallucinating, right?
I think some people would pay good money for that. I think there's a missing product opportunity.
But I mean, we just need to appreciate the process, the sacrifices that were made not only by us, by other people, and those people who may have been living last year, and for some reason don't live this year. We need to also appreciate their sacrifice and the ones before that and before that and before that. So we need to be able to, honor our farmers. If we can, go to a farmer's market and or go to the farm and kind of buy directly from the farm. I mean, it's great to buy it from the grocery store and everything, but a lot of times when you buy it from the farmer, they're usually cheaper. A lot of times they'll more kinder and they'll help you, especially if you don't know anything about produce, like watermelons or a cantaloupe. Everybody thinks you got to thump the cantaloupe or you got to, rub the cantaloupe or whatever. To me, the only good way for me to actually know that it's a real good cantaloupe is to open the damn thing. But I'm not going to open every single one of them in a, in a grocery store.
Yeah, I think that would be upsetting.
Right.
Nope,
So,
not that one.
Right. So, I mean, the farmer can sit here and literally show you this is how you can tell this is a good cantaloupe, or this is how you can tell this is a good tomato, because tomatoes, it may look good on the outside, but when you cut them, they may not look so good. So I get kind of pissed off about that.
So the other day was going around to garage sales. It's one of the fun things we do when we can. And there was a lady who was selling homemade baked goods and also eggs from her chickens. And so we got half a dozen eggs. And it's funny, when you go to the store, all the eggs are matched up by size and by color.
Mm-hmm.
And here in this half dozen, none of the eggs matched. They were
Right.
a range of sizes. They were a range of colors. And that shows you how much process happens to get things into the grocery store, and all of that sort of thing that we've gotten used to, all the packaging and the homogenizing that goes on. And
Yeah.
You were talking about melons. Sometimes the sweetest or best example that you're going to have of a fruit or a vegetable is not always the prettiest one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the perfectly shaped one. Farmers markets and anything like that you can do. I've also heard of people doing a sort of a co-op where they will subscribe to a farm. And so they put in so much money each month, and then they will get their share of what the farmer has harvested. And it's not going to be the same thing every month because there are things that are seasonal. But essentially what you do is when it's time, you get the message and you go pick up your thing for this month. And I think that's a wonderful way to do it. It would be interesting if that becomes a way for smaller farms to sustain themselves. If we combine the qualities of social media with that kind of a service, that kind of produce, right? Literally. Yeah, all of that is possible. And again, it gets back to the idea of imagination, about vision, just what you were talking about, the divination. We've got to think of other things and not wait for someone else to figure it out and say, here it is, now buy it. Right? We are perfectly capable of connecting with our brothers and sisters and coming up with our own answers that work for us. It doesn't have to come from on high. So that's something that popped into my head. I heard of someone who was doing a subscription like that. And unfortunately, the farm wasn't taking any more subscribers at the time, so I couldn't get in on it. But I'd never heard of such a thing. Never occurred to me.
Right.
And we're going to take a quick break to get a word from our sponsors, the ones who make all this possible. I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
We are all magical beings. As a solitary magical practitioner, you can grow and develop yourself independently. Yet, the solitary path can be difficult and lonely with setbacks and self-doubts, and as you find your way without affirmations, reinforcements, or a safe space to practice, what do you do when things bump back? At Evermoving We Rise, our name is our lifestyle. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We teach you to understand and use the magical tools at your fingertips, while being upheld and developing personal responsibility for your own spirituality. We have a safe space to practice and learn as you master your craft. When situations bump back, you will have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Start today. Visit us at our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box. And we are back to Witch Hat Chats, and Saul and I are talking about llamas. Not llamas, Saul. So I know Saul always has his special little poems that he wants to go and try and speak for us. So Saul is going to get in his theater mode.
And it's funny, I was never big into poetry growing up. I mean, I was exposed to it. I liked Shakespeare, which I guess is poetry, Shakespeare plays. I like to watch those. But reading books of poetry and that sort of thing was not really a part of how I did things. And I found that when we get into dealing with points in the Wheel of the Year, I really enjoy finding these poems and experiencing these poems. I'm appreciating very much the way that poets will help invoke a feeling. So it's interesting. I've become much more of a poetry fan because of this. Let's take a moment. This poem is called Lammas Night, and the author is unknown. I stood before my altar at Lammastide and asked the Lord and Lady to be my guides. Please show to me a vision that I may see what sacrifice is worthy to give to thee. They showed me an apple without a core. They showed to me a dwelling without a door. They showed to me a palace where they may be and unlock it without a key. Can there be an apple without a core? How can there be a dwelling without a door? How can there be a palace where they may be and they may unlock it without a key? My spirit is an apple without a core. My mind is a dwelling without a door. My heart is a palace where they may be, and they may unlock it without a key. I stood before my altar on Lammastide, and gave my mighty Lord and Lady bright the sacrifice they asked for, with spirit free. Upon that Lammas evening, I gave them me. Isn't that
I think
perfect?
I think that's the best one you said so far. I really like that one. The showing me a dwelling with no door, showing me an apple without a core. It's like, well, you can get through it with your mind. You just have to use your imagination to be able to get through it.
Right.
With the gods and the goddesses, they are like spirits. They don't need to come through the front door. They can, but they don't need to. They don't need a window. They can just come through the wall. Like, okay. So here I am.
Well, and it is a reminder of ourselves as at the heart of everything. That first all the power and wealth is already within us. That we don't need the external so much. Right. I know that sounds naive when we're talking about living in this material world and all that. But there's so many things that we put our sights on, that we devote ourselves to, that really have no true value for us. And also the idea of making yourself an offering. I don't do deity work as much. That may change, but right now that is not necessarily at my center. But I do connect with other entities, and I do connect with the universe as a whole. And what do you give to someone who has everything they want? Right? What does the universe need from you? What does God need with a starship? Right?
All right, Spock.
No, but I mean that's the kind of idea, and we do symbolic gifts. I've got a chunk of cut tobacco that I don't smoke. I will use it to give in offerings in various situations, because it is as close to the origin as I can get there. And those are all symbolic gestures that we make. But what we're really putting into it is ourselves and our own abilities and our own devotion to whatever it is we're trying to bring about, whatever the path is that we're walking.
Yeah, and I mean, that actually goes back to our divination for today, too, because we have to put our entire selves into magic in order for our magic to manifest, in order for the, quote, miracle to actually occur. So, yeah, it speaks to a lot of different things, not just for Lammas, but for all year round. We can't just quit because, okay, today's not Lammas anymore, so we are not going to be mindful of how we're thinking, and we are not going to use our imaginations, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. No. Okay. No, you can't be one of those weekend or on the holidays type of magician. It doesn't work. Things won't really happen for you if you're like that, because the universe knows you're not committed. So why should it work for you if you're not committed? Right, Saul?
The Lammas will be with you always.
And they do need a starship.
And yes, I'm being silly about llamas because I kind of like llamas. At the zoo, there was this llama that was it was an older llama, and it was just this snaggletooth, goofy-looking thing that would slobber all over you when you came up next to the pen. But seemed to be having a good life, and was always nice. So that's funny. It is to me anyway.
It is. It is.
So what is something that you bring in gratitude to Lammas?
Well, it's the usual things. I'm always grateful every single day. I'm grateful for the life that I have, that my mother has, the fact that we are, as she puts it, above ground. And that we are living and we are breathing, and we could be in a lot worse situation than what we are. I'm always grateful for that. I'm grateful for my chosen friends and family. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for so many different things in our life. I'm grateful for opportunities. I'm grateful for lessons. I mean, even like I have said previously on previous shows, even if I have a bad day, and although I would not ever repeat that bad day, I still sit there and I say to my deities, thank you. Because I have actually had to learn something. I had to go through that bad day to learn something, whatever that something may be. And if I hadn't gone through that bad day, then I would have never learned it. And hopefully I wouldn't have to repeat that bad day again, like in Groundhog's Day when they were repeating it over and over and over and letting the little groundhog steer the wheel on the car, How about you?
Well, I relate to a lot of what you just said. I had my world turned pretty thoroughly upside down a few years ago as this path opened up to me. And I do marvel that even though not everything has met my desires, that I'm still working on a lot of stuff that somehow this has been survivable, that somehow this has, there has been just enough, just in time. and it's uncomfortable at times. And maybe that's what I'm trying to overcome is my discomfort with it, and then it'll be able to hit the next stage there. When I was talking to my friend about his stress and his goals, I used a metaphor of the mountain, and that you don't just fly to the top of the mountain right up front. You have to establish a series of base camps, and each base camp is a goal, and that many people, as they're reaching, they don't notice that they have a pretty firm base camp, that there are certain things that are established and fairly solid. And even though we have that next level of goal, we can enjoy this camp that we're at now, this stage that we are at now. And that takes practice. That's part of that gratitude that you're talking about. And while I still see opportunity and journeys up ahead, I marvel that the life I have right now is working at all. That's a beautiful thing. And that's not entirely my doing. I mean, I do talk about the power coming within, but it is me putting myself in harmony with the bigger stuff. And you know, how wonderful that that's possible, and how wonderful that I discovered it. Yeah. Despite not necessarily being taught it by a mentor or an elder, that I found it anyway. That's wonderful.
That is.
Well, Nikki, one of our traditions on all of our Sabbath programs is a spell casting, and I think you have something set up for us. What do you have?
All right, so I decided this year we're going to do some Lammas oil. Ooh, we're gonna make a Lammas oil. Ooh, yay, yay, yay! So what you're going to need is you're going to need an essential oil bottle. Now, I prefer bottles that are not clear, such as this amber one. They do have blue and other kind of colors. The reason why I prefer this kind because it keeps the light from getting through so much. Because when you have your oils and you have them in light, they end up causing problems, and it ends up breaking it down, and there's just so much to it. So if you have to have it in the light, you rather have it in a bottle like this. That keeps it a lot better for you. So if you go on Amazon, you can get 12 of these and be able to get your bottle. And then, of course, it comes with the top right here for the essential oil to come out, and then your little top right there. There you go. So, woo! There's your 3-pack. Yay! Right there. All right. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some sunflower oil. Yes, we're going to do sunflower oil because sunflowers is really good when it comes to Lammas. And this is the reason why we're going to pick this oil. It's because Lammas basically celebrates the reign of the sun. So we're going to be celebrating that a little bit. And then the herbs that you need. And yes, this is a list of herbs. So we've got peppermint. Peppermint, what it does is number one, it helps you as far as clearing that mind of yours. Also, if you're gardeners and you have this personal experience, any type of mint, you want to kind of put it in like a pot or something like that because they grow everywhere. They're like moonflowers and morning glories. They just go everywhere and it spreads. So peppermint will be a good thing of being able to cleanse not only your mind but your entire body, as well as your aura and anything else that's pretty much around you. It just, when you breathe that in, you just get that really, really good feeling. So you want to put peppermints in the herb, and then you would like to have some marigold. Now, all these herbs are dry, by the way, or they can be fresh, but most people can only get them dried, so dried is fine. They don't have to be fresh. Marigold is for the ancestors, because what you want to do is you want to be able to honor them during Lammas. Yes, they say that you only honor the ancestors during Samhain and during Beltane, but actually that's another thing, kind of like the fire festival. It's bullshit. You honor the ancestors all the time with everything, especially when it's a holiday. And you would like to have their blessings, because what you're fixing to do is we're fixing to go into the dark part of the year. This is actually considered the dark part of the year. And we're fixing to go into winter. So you actually want the blessing of your ancestors so that you can be able to obtain what you need and survive it. So that's the reason why we've got the marigold in here. And then we want to have the sunflower herb. So the sunflower herb can either be the nut or the flower. I prefer to probably do both if you can possibly do that. Sunflowers, what it does is it represents, like I said, the sun. And the sun creates a lot of things. It helps us to bring hope and light into the darkness. It also helps us to have that positivity when it comes to reaping up what we already have, what we already have done, and to be able to prepare us for the times in which we're not going to have very much going on. And we're going to need some really, really heavy TLC and mental health. So sunflower is to be able to help us with all of that. Then we got the combination of lavender and rosemary. Lavender and rosemary is one of the best things that you can actually use when it comes to blessing your home and removing all kinds of negativity, energies, and stuff like that. Lavender promotes self-love. It also promotes protection. And it gives you a relaxation type of sense. So you're not always upset all the time. Especially when things are not going your way, or things are becoming a little bit more slow than what you actually want them to be. So lavender would be a very good thing. And then the rosemary makes a great road opener herb. So we want to be able to, because we're closing this chapter, and we want to be able to open up the road, new opportunities for what we need. So we want to put rosemary in there. Now, the essential oils are easy. Lavender and rosemary, as I have already explained. Eucalyptus, because eucalyptus can be able to help us also with the stress, but it's also very good for being able to cleanse those senses as well, and to calm people down. So it's just one of those things. It's a real good scent. And then you would like to have a little bit of dragon's blood. So what you want to do is you want to put all your herbs in this bottle. And then you want to put in the sunflower oil up to about right here. Okay, up to about right there. Okay, right there. There you go. First. And then you want to put at least 9 drops of the lavender, the rosemary, and the eucalyptus. And then put 3 drops of dragon's blood. Because the dragon's blood, what it's going to do is it's going to make this a lot more powerful than what it was without it. So you want to have that in there. Then you want to fill the rest of it up with the remaining sunflower oil that you have. Put this topper on it. Put the top on it. And then as you're shaking it up, because yes, you got to mix it, so you got to shake it all up. You want to sit here and do your prayer. And your prayer is to whatever God that you're praying to, okay, or goddess, what your deity you're praying to. And basically, you're asking them to bless this oil because you want protection. You want to be able to clear the way for new opportunities. And you want to be able to have that clear mind while you're doing that. So those are the three things that you're going to be asking for. And however you ask for them, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's no particular spell, blah, blah, blah. I just sit here and I just shake it. And I literally ask my deities whatever I need. So that's what I do. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place this on your altar. And you're going to leave it there at least for 3 days. 3 days minimum. And then you can be able to use it. So you can use it in things like for road openings, for endings, for things that you want to have completed, stuff like that. So you're going to be able to use all of that for this. And then there is your oil. Woo! That was a lot in a short time there, wasn't it?
It was. Now, you said to leave the oil for a minimum of 3 days, but would you recommend, if you can, to let it sit for at least a full moon cycle?
If you can, if you want to, it's fine. But like I said, it's a minimum of 3 days. 3 days on your altar is going to add your power to it. If you want to leave it for a moon cycle, fine. It's okay. You want to start this like right before, like the day before the Lammas, and then make sure it's done and put it on your altar. So that way, when it becomes Lammas, you're getting that Lammas energy into it, as well as a day afterwards. And we got the dark moon for this Lammas. Woo! Boy, that's really telling us a lot. So anyway, so you want to be able to do that, and you want to be able to add your personal power. So this is going to be if you do it correctly, it's going to be a really, really powerful oil.
Excellent.
All right. So when we come back from our sponsors, we will be talking to Saul about our Lammas divination. Have you heard? People are raving about Moonlight potions and charms with 5-star reviews. 5 stars for excellent products, amazing services, and fast shipping. We are an Etsy star seller. Listen to some of our reviews. Author and owner of Wicked Witch Studios, Dorothy Morrison said, "I'm in love. The Marie Laveau altar on the go is absolutely amazing and jam-packed with everything one could possibly need, no matter what sort of magic they're planning. Kudos on a great product." Jess said, "Absolutely love the Papa Legba prayer candle. I've been hunting for a good Papa Legba candle forever with zero success, and I adore this one." High Priestess said, "Adorable wooden coffins. Can't wait to use them." And Angelica said about our ancestor oil, "Exceeding my expectations. Packaged with love and smells amazing. Definitely recommending and buying again." Make sure to check out our bubbling cauldron bath bombs, available in Luck of the Irish, Lavender, and Dragon's Blood. Our magical milk baths are also available in Papa Legba Purification, White Flowers, Lucky Love, and Van Van. All are homemade and spelled with love, care, and intention. Our Happily Ever After candle line is designed with you in mind. There is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Are you at a crossroads? Not sure which direction to go? Or do you feel powerless? Or is there another question that needs answering? At Moonlight Potions and Charms, our many services assist our clients to emerge their authentic selves and embrace the power and magic that lies within them. Many of our readings provide the clarity one needs to pursue their life's destiny. Our soulful readings assist one to discover what is required to be in alignment with one's soul journey. Our tarot readings provide clarity and coaching for those who are at a crossroads in life. Our animal medicine readings show what our animal brothers and sisters can teach you about yourself and your life. Unsure where to start your shadow work? Book a shadow reading. There is so much more in our Wicked store, so visit us at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and embrace the power of your own magic.
And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. Miss Nikki has asked me if I would be willing to do our divination for Lammas every episode where we celebrate one of the Sabbats, one of the points on the wheel of the year. We generally do a sort of divination. And today we're just going to stick to the basics here. We're going to do a tarot divination, and I'm going to use the Robin Wood deck, which is my personal favorite of all the decks that I've come across in tarot. I've used it for many years now, and it is it just speaks to me in so many different ways. I still enjoy exploring different decks, but it's always nice to have something that feels reliable to you. And I think we all have that to some degree. There's one deck or another that speaks out to us and becomes a special way for us to read. So let's talk about what we're looking for our Lammas intention today. Is there any intention you would like to pursue for this reading? Nikki? I know we've been talking quite a bit about social justice, and one of the things that came out in the event this last weekend, the Witches Fest, was the way that very aggressive, very unpleasant protesters made the live event in New York City a very difficult thing, more than it has been in the past. And I think it's a reflection of our current environment that people feel emboldened, even permitted, encouraged to bring that kind of disruption. You were talking about Roe versus Wade, and I think there are people that look at that and they go, oh, look, we're winning. Now we can do whatever we want. And I think those people have another thing coming, as they say. I think they are going to poke the bear one too many times. And,
They've already done that.
Yeah. But they haven't felt any consequences from that yet. And I think it's up to us to bring those consequences about. I'm thinking of ways that I can help participate in that, but some of it I'm not going to be able to do openly. Some of it I'm going to have to do behind the scenes. That's part of the challenge of all of this. Is there are some people that are in a good position to be the face of the movement, and there are some people that would find themselves in danger by doing that. And yet, even if you're not out in front, there are things that can be done, and that's where we've all got to find our places in that. So I would say that as we're thinking about transformation, as we're thinking about what's moving toward the harvest, the abundance that we want to create, as we enjoy the fresh baked bread and appreciate what we do have, that we can look on that path, that what are we going to do? What is going to make the difference? Where does our energy need to focus in order to accomplish this change? Does that sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That sounds reasonable to me. Yeah.
You probably heard me shuffling the cards in the background. So I'm going to cut them here, and then I'll cut them into 3 piles. This first one here, let me slide it so you can see past my big giant head. This first one here is about foundations. What is underneath what we're dealing with? And what we get here is we get the 2 of, let me find the right spot in the camera here. There we go. We have the, I'm going to get expert at this someday. We have the 2 of Wands. But the Wands, this card is reversed. Now, Wands are connected to the energy of fire. They're connected with the passions. They're connected with what drives us. They are connected with transformation. And the 2 here, I have always thought of Alexander the Great. There's a story about Alexander the Great that says he looked at all of his domain and wept, for there were no other worlds to conquer. But I also see this as a card of contemplation, about thinking about the possibilities. But it was reversed. And that to me talks very much about where we get lost. We can get lost in contemplation. We can get lost in woulda, coulda, shoulda. We can get lost in all of the things that we might have said, we might have done, all of the things that could have happened, that could have been done better. And you do need to have understanding of where you should have zigged instead of zagged, right? You do need to understand your missteps, but you can't undo them. And you can't be terrified about the next thing by over speculating, by thinking it to death. And I believe that's something that for us is true, something that came out in conversation about these needs of social justice is our oppressors are pretty unified. They are pretty comfortable with their outlook and their power base and their ability to do whatever the hell they want, because they have allies in power who can selectively enforce people's rights, people's opportunities. And we need to be we need to quit thinking about it, and we need to take the action. We need to unify, right? I am not a trans man, but the rights of a trans man are directly connected to all of my rights. And I have to see that. I have to understand it. I don't have to understand the experience of that person, but I have to understand and honor their right to be who they are just as much as I am who I am. And when people try to step on that, that needs to make me concerned. That needs to make me angry. I need to see the trampling of their rights as trampling my rights as well. And you can't think it to death. You just can't. So, our next one is the Two of Pentacles. This shows, and I love how this is represented in Robin Wood's deck. It shows someone walking a slack wire. They got these two pinnacles in their hands. They're kind of juggling, trying to maintain the balance. Up in the background here, there is this ship of sorts, like a giant stork ship, a very fantastic thing. And those people are doing things the easy way. Our hero here is doing things the hard way, trying to keep things in balance, trying to keep things so that trying to keep all sides happy, right? Essentially doing things the hard way. When perhaps they could get off of this slack wire and sit up here in this ship, drinking a Mai Tai and enjoying the journey. When this card comes up, it speaks to me of people trying to please more than one side, trying to wear different masks for different people, trying to show people what they want to see, tell them what they want to hear, to not rock the boat, to not upset things. And this is clearly not the time for that. We obviously need to be willing to take off the masks that we have been using to not upset people, and to be willing to let that truth come out. And we need to do it in ways that demand action, right? We need to demand that our police and judges and justice system is equally applied to everyone. And when it's not, we need to shine a big old light on that. We need to show when our politicians are obviously doing things to satisfy their corporations and the lobbies that they pan to, and setting the others aside. Right? We need to hold their feet to the fire. And, talk about Fire Festival. This is when you fire them. You're fired. You didn't do your job. You suck. You are fired. Right? And we have to have the guts to do that. We have to have the guts to do that. And to do the kinds of things that our oppressors do. Right? Go send $5 to the politician that you think is going to make a difference. Believe it or not, that changes things. Not to get political, but to state some facts. We have Governor Greg Abbott here, who has not been doing his job. He's changed his job description. And he has been the one who has allowed a lot of these terrible things that we're dealing with to come about. His key opponent is a Democrat named Beto O'Rourke, who has an interesting path in his political history. Made a run for president, did a lot of different things, served in the legislature, but he is making a run for governor. And the last round of reporting, O'Rourke he outraised Abbott in that same reporting period. Governor Abbott's contributions came from 113,000 people or so. O'Rourke's contributions came from more than 500,000 people doing what they could, right? And those things get attention. While this campaign was kind of floating under the radar, suddenly the fact that he had outraised Abbott, everyone went, whoa, what's going on here? Exactly, right? And that's one of the ways that you shine that light. So don't just think about it. Don't just contemplate it. See what you can do with the action, right? And I'm gonna get back to this in a moment. There's another aspect here. And then finally, we have the 9 of Wands. Wands again with that fire energy. The 9 here, I love the picture that's here. We see a soldier there, and he's being standing guard. Now, if you look at his face more closely, you can see that he's not angry, he's not upset. There we go. He's at peace, right? If you stop and ask him for directions, he's perfectly happy to help you there. If you want to come and be a problem and have him open up a can of whoop ass, he can help you there as well. He is ready, he is vigilant, but he is not looking for a fight. He is ready for action, but he's not nervous about it. He's not trying to pick it, right? And I think that's extremely important for where we go with this, because we are angry. We should be angry, damn it. But going and yelling at people and throwing rocks and picking a fight about it, you know, doing violence is not going to fix things. Now, if violence happens and we have to defend ourselves, that's a different story. All right? Don't just stand there while someone hits you in the head repeatedly. But the answer to this is preparedness. Preparedness for what? Preparedness to do what is needed. And we have to be prepared to do what is needed. And it's not always going to be what we anticipate. It may not even be what we desire, but it's what we are called into, right? And so it's very important that we maintain our readiness, maintain when someone does reach out and say, I need something and we can do it, right? When someone is being targeted and you have the ability to step in front of them, do it, right? A lot of these people are very vulnerable to satire and heckling. It upsets them for someone to not take them seriously. And it makes them so angry. And it makes them do stupid things. And our ability to maintain our discipline, maintain our vigilance. What does that mean? Our vigilance, our ability to maintain our readiness and to be poised. And poised is a good word there, because poised means that you are set and ready, but it also means that you are composed. It has a couple of different meanings there. Now, one thing I want to call attention to is these first 2 cards. They are both 2s, and 2s are about connection. 2s are about collaboration. 2s are about empathy and emotion and all of those kinds of things. The fact that these 2s are showing up is a clear demonstration that this is not something that's done by any individual. This is done by everybody together. We've all got to be in this together. And we all have to take people that we would consider in slight conflict with us and allow ourselves to make those connections, to support each other, to stand up for each other, right? The vampires and the werewolves got to get together because there's something worse going on. And this is the time to set the petty squabbles aside. Also, this 9 here, 9 is very much about community. 9 is about outward facing. 9 is about doing things for the greater good. All right? So not only are the symbols coming up in ways that are meaningful to us, the numbers are lining up. So we need to quit thinking and talking and start doing. Start communicating with the people that can do something, and if they're not, get their ass fired. Do that work, right? We need to actively stand up for the people that are having trouble, right? If I have the opportunity to be somewhere where I can act as a buffer while these people do what they got to do, I need to be willing to do that. I need to be willing to be an honor guard of sorts and to defend those people's honor. I have to be a knight in this quest. And some of it is going to be open, that willingness to get right up in front of someone and say, hey, you leave that person alone. I remember being on a bus one time and there were a couple of young men that were just mouthing off and you know, dropping F-bombs and all that. And a couple of rows behind me, I heard a voice say, didn't your mama teach you boys no respect? I turned around and there was a big stern-faced guy looking right at them. And he spoke out and he got their attention. You know what? They calmed down. These people think they can get away with it because what are you going to do? It's time to show them. And some of that's going to happen in front. Some of that's going to happen behind the scenes. But it's going to get done. But we have to do it together. So use this Lammas as an opportunity to prepare you for this part of the journey. We will win. What they want is not sustainable.
Right. Right.
Do you have anything to add to what came out there?
Actually, I do. If you go back to your spread for a moment. All right. So you see the number 2 on 2 of them. Well, the number 2 also represents balance. Now, one of them is reversed while the other one is not. So that tells you that there's a lot of imbalance in the world, in what's going on here, which we
yin yang going
already
on.
know that. Yeah, so I mean, there's this fight right here. There's this major tension between the two. But when you go over to the 9 of Wands, 9 represents completion. It represents an ending going into a beginning. So when you have that and you have that soldier, and as you were saying, the soldier is not willing to pick a fight, but is willing to stand up and move if it has to or when it has to. The thing about it is, to me, the soldier already knows it's going to have to fight, period, end of story. It's just trying to wait and see or pick its time to be able to when it's the right moment. And I believe, as you were saying, that moment is going to be primarily with the elections that are coming up. Because if you don't like what your politicians are doing, fire them, period. End of story. Fire their asses. Boom. You know, I'm sorry, but if I wasn't doing my job, I remember the jobs I would have working for others. If they didn't like the way I did it, guess what? They would fire me. They would fire Saul. They would fire you. So that's the way we have to be with them. We have to give them this strong message. Hey, we are not going to take this, and it's going to be over with. So when I was seeing all of this coming about, and the first one being reversed, you know, I'm like, okay, 2 represents balance, but but because it's reversed, it's imbalance. And then the other one is like, we were in balance, and now we're in the process of becoming balanced. And then we're getting ready for the war that's going to come. And when I mean a war, I mean what we're going through right now. We're getting ready towards that ending. So to me, this is going to end, or maybe a possible new beginning, because every ending has a beginning around November in the election time.
Right. I think that's fair. And you know, when we talk about war, we're definitely talking about conflict, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to devolve into everybody going after each other. All right. There are a few that are going to want to play it that way, but we are going to have to stand up. We are going to have to demand our rights. And we are going to have to do what is necessary to put obedient servants in place that will take care of everybody. You know, our biggest weapon in this is love, real love, right? Not the way that it's represented. I love you, so you had to die, right? You know, there's ways to encounter this, and we've got to retool and use our arts as well as our wits.
That is true. And the thing about it is, we cannot be on the side roads anymore. And like I said, we can go into this in another episode, because we're actually out of time almost. But with this one last thought, the war does not have to be bloody, okay? Not physically bloody. But it's going to involve people making these very tough decisions. They're going to have to stand up for themselves. They're going to probably have friends and family that's going to be on the opposite side. This is what you need to do. You need to figure out what is the best for you. How is things going to work for you? And then push beyond that and says, how is things going to work best for your family? You know, is freedom better for you to have versus you being placed in this cage and being told it's your property? Me, I think freedom is a lot better than being placed in a cage and being told that I'm property and that I'm less than human, because that's what we just were told. Women were just told this. And like I said, I can go into it more. But you need to be able to make that decision, and you need to stand firm. Because if they don't respect your decision, whatever that may be, you don't have to explain it to them. It's okay. It's just like I told my mom. She says, I love you, but I don't understand your path. I don't understand what you're going through. And I said, that's fine. I said, you don't have to understand my path. You just have to be able to be open enough to tolerate what I do and learn from that. That's it. That's all you have to be. And with that, it's going to be the end of episode of Lammas for Witch Hat Chats. Things go pretty fast, don't they, Saul?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So join us next week when Saul and I will be chatting with Emma Catherine. We want to thank our first responders, essential workers, and medical workers for all of your passion, dedication, and what you're doing to win in this fight, in this pandemic. We truly appreciate everything you do. And as we had discussed, ladies and everyone else, these rights that they supposedly have taken away, I'm sorry, no one can take them away from us, because we are human and we deserve to have the same human rights as men do, and so on and so forth. So you let them know we are not property. And I think that is what is going to occur according to Saul's reading. So we're good on that. So wear your mask, get your vaccinations and boosters, maintain 6 feet of distance from one another, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, and yourself safe. And we'll see you in a week. And happy Lammas.